Thank you, Mr. Chair. This 3rd of July, we passed a milestone. It was the hottest day ever recorded on planet Earth. The next day, the 4th of July, was again a record-breaking day, as the hottest day ever recorded on planet Earth. Just 2 days later, global temperature records was broken once more. In fact, our planet reached the hottest day ever recorded 4 days in a row last week. For millions of Americans who are unable to access shelter or air conditioning, this past week was deadly. At least 14 people died in Texas and Louisiana, and hundreds were sent to emergency rooms. In my home state of New York, flash flooding 2 days ago left one person dead and entire neighborhoods flooded. This is the climate crisis, and this is just the beginning. It is for this reason that immediate and bold action is necessary to rapidly decarbonize every single sector of the U.S. economy. Coal on public lands has an especially big role to play in this energy transition. Coal creates the most carbon pollution of any energy source. Today, we get about 25% of our electricity from coal, but coal accounts for 55% of the electricity sector's emissions. Over 40% of all coal mining in the United States happens on public lands, and the vast majority of this coal is burned for energy production. In fact, the U.S. Geological Survey found that the federal coal program alone is responsible for 13% of our total greenhouse gas pollution. I'll say that again. The federal coal program alone is responsible for 13% of our total U.S. greenhouse gas pollution. It's clearly time to end all new federal coal leasing on public lands and invest in domestic renewable energy production. As part of this transition, however, we must ensure that we are not simply trading coal barons for solar barons. We must make sure that new jobs are good union jobs and that miners and mining communities are given what they are owed. Miners not only supplied American industry and energy for more than a century, they literally fought and died for workers' rights in this country at a time when union busting was enforced by private militias. I urge everyone in the room who's unfamiliar to look up the Ludlow Massacre or the Colorado Coalfield Wars to understand just a piece of this history. During the New Deal, it was coal mining organizers who led the way in the founding of the Congress of Industrial Organizations and the unionization of not just coal mining, but sectors like automobiles, steel, and electricity. It was these coal miners who formed the core of the New Deal coalition and built an economy that worked for millions of Americans. Any one worker today who has a pension or a union or a weekend owes some thanks to a coal miner, and our coal miners must be first in line for new jobs in the green energy economy. My colleagues across the aisle often point the finger at President Biden's administration's policies, saying that they are hurting coal jobs. But the truth is that coal production has been in decline for over a decade as the free market moves to cheaper, cleaner forms of energy. We know that there is only enough federal coal under lease today to support around 20 more years of mining at current levels. We'll hear from one of our witnesses today about how the development of metallurgical coal, which is used for steel production, not electricity generation, represents an opportunity for workers in Alabama. Nearly all metallurgical coal in Alabama comes from private lands, so this testimony is likely related to a proposed lease from the company Warrior Met to produce metallurgical coal on federal land, which is currently under environmental review. But the idea that this project will spur the local economy is spurious. In a break from tradition, Warrior Met has not even approached the union for this new mine. This isn't surprising, as Warrior Met spent the last 2 years fighting with striking workers in Alabama, the longest strike in Alabama history. Rather than spending money on good union local jobs, Warrior Met has chosen to spend it on billboards in West Virginia to hire scab workers. Coal communities do not deserve empty promises from coal barons. They deserve opportunity and diversified economies, and they deserve to be first in line. This administration created the Energy Communities Interagency Working Group to deliver federal resources to help revitalize America's coal communities. Last Congress, we passed billions of dollars to create good-paying jobs, spur innovation and economic revitalization, and clean up abandoned mine lands through the Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, and the CHIPS and Science Act. I and my colleagues are working tirelessly to ensure that this historic investment reaches the people who need it most. This transition will not be easy, but it is essential, and the future of our planet and every single working American depends upon it. And I yield back.